Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fully impossible. Even attempts are met with severe consequences, as seen in failed escapee Alexander Elistratov's tragic fate. Life in the Polar Owl prison is a sentence that truly tests the limits of human endurance. It's a place where survival hinges not just on enduring the bitter cold, but on enduring the psychological torment of unyielding isolation and monotony. And yet, unbelievably, there are prisons in Russia that are even more severe. Butyrka Prison. Butyrka Prison in Moscow's Taganka district offers a stark contrast to Polar Owl Prison in nearly all aspects, earning its reputation as one of Russia's most dangerous correctional facilities. Unlike Polar Owl's extreme cold, Butyrka Prison experiences sweltering summers, creating a distinct difference in the harsh conditions faced by inmates at the two prisons. Dating back to the 17th century, Butyrka is one of Russia's oldest prisons, with the current structure erected in 1879 during the reign of Catherine the Great. Throughout its history, it has served various purposes, including as a transit point for prisoners during the Soviet era in the 1900s. Today, it primarily houses political dissidents, revolutionaries, terrorists, and government opponents. Inside Butyrka, conditions are harsh. Cells are often overcrowded and cramped, offering little privacy or comfort. Amenities are basic, and daily life is tightly regimented under the watchful eye of guards who enforce strict discipline. Life in Butyrka is starkly different from the outside world. Inmates follow a strict routine, with meals served at set times and limited recreation opportunities. The harsh conditions and monotony can weigh heavily on those confined within its walls. Butyrka is renowned for its size, being one of Russia's largest prisons, yet it is infamous for its severe overcrowding. Cells built to accommodate 10 inmates often hold upwards of 100, creating conditions ripe for the spread of diseases like tuberculosis and AIDS. In a stark departure from Polar Owl, where extreme cold poses the greatest threat, Butyrka's inmates face a different kind of danger: rapid transmission of diseases due to cramped living conditions. Prison guards exacerbate this issue by transporting inmates in congested vans, exposing healthy individuals to diseases before they even reach their assigned cells. Moreover, the prevalence of drug use among inmates results in a dire situation where a single needle is shared among countless prisoners, accelerating the spread of AIDS within the prison walls. The rampant spread of these diseases raises unsettling questions about the prison's management and its role in exacerbating the inmates' suffering. Inmates in Butyrka endure conditions that not only punish them for their crimes, but also pose grave risks to their health and survival. The deliberate spread of diseases, whether intentional or through neglect, paints a grim picture of punishment within the prison system, where the consequences of rebellion against the government extend far beyond incarceration. In essence, while its freezing temperatures and psychological isolation characterize Polar Owl, Butyrka stands out for its sweltering heat and the health hazards posed by overcrowding and disease. Each prison represents a different facet of the harsh realities faced by inmates within Russia's penal system, where survival is often contingent upon enduring extreme conditions and navigating the formidable challenges imposed by confinement. Throughout its history, Butyrka has played a significant role in Russian society. During the Soviet era, it became a symbol of political repression, incarcerating many intellectuals and activists who challenged the regime. The prison's halls echoed the voices of writers and thinkers whose ideas posed a threat to the established order. White Swan Prison. White Swan Prison, formerly designated as Penal Colony No. 2, looms large among Russia's elite group of supermax prisons located in Perm Krai. Unlike its counterparts, White Swan was purpose-built for lifelong prisoners, a role it fully committed to in 1999. Remarkably, since that pivotal year, not one inmate has experienced freedom, solidifying its status as the ultimate symbol of perpetual confinement. Despite its large capacity, with only a third of its space occupied by around 300 inmates, the conditions inside remain among the most feared in Russia. The prison earned its name from the stark white color of its walls and the distinctive way guards escort inmates, bent at a 90 degrees angle with handcuffed hands, creating a semblance that some inmates liken to a swan. What sets White Swan apart from other supermax prisons in Russia is its total isolation policy. Communication with the outside world is strictly prohibited. Inmates are denied access to radios or televisions, a level of isolation unparalleled in other facilities. Perhaps most shockingly, inmates are completely barred from receiving visitors. Once within White Swan's confines, inmates bid farewell to all they hold dear, knowing they will never see their loved ones again. The prison's harsh conditions are designed to psychologically break inmates, evident in its rigorous psychological assessments conducted by on-site professionals. These assessments guide the pairing of inmates as roommates to prevent conflicts and manage inmates effectively. Moreover, psychologists are also tasked with attending to inmates whose mental health deteriorates due to the harsh conditions. Although White Swan Prison is known for its strict rules, it does offer inmates some small comforts. Prisoners are allowed a daily 1-hour walk and a weekly 10-minute bath, which are considered small acts of kindness in an otherwise harsh environment. Matrosskaya Tishina. The federal state institution of the Office of the Federal Penitentiary Service of Russia in Moscow, located in the Sokolniki district, is colloquially known as Matrosskaya Tishina, named after the street where it stands in northeastern Moscow. It's operated by the Federal Penitentiary Service and has housed notable figures such as Mikhail Khodorkovsky and participants of the 1991 Soviet coup attempt. The history of Matrosskaya Tishina dates back to 1775, when it began as an insane asylum managed by a charitable organization. By 1870, it evolved into Moscow prison, accommodating 300 men and 150 women. Architect Boris Alberti redesigned the facility in 1912 with purpose-built prison blocks, later transforming it into a reformatory for juvenile convicts in 1918. After World War II, Matrosskaya Tishina was re-established in its current form in 1945 under Soviet authority. Initially managed by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, it became known as CISO No. 1 of the Moscow Main Department of Internal Affairs in 1956. The prison expanded from 2 main buildings to 3. The third building initially housed war criminals and later served as a tuberculosis department starting in 1997. Since then, it has been managed by the main penitentiary department of the Ministry of Justice of the Russian Federation, accommodating up to 5,000 prisoners awaiting trial or sentencing. Only 3 inmates have successfully escaped from Matrosskaya Tishina, each incident leaving a mark in the prison's history. Alexander Solonik, a notorious hitman, made his escape on June 5, 1995. Sergei Ershov attempted to flee on May 2, 2004, but was caught within 24 hours. Alexei Julger was believed to have escaped on March 13, 2003, only to be found hiding on the prison grounds several days later. Oleg Topalov orchestrated his escape on May 7, 2013, using a metal spoon to dig through his cell ceiling. He was apprehended the next day in Izmailovsky Park, exposing vulnerabilities in the prison's security measures. Patak Island Prison. Known as the Alcatraz of Russia, Patak Island is notorious for housing the country's most dangerous criminals. In this desolate prison, inmates endure grueling conditions that include spending 22 hours a day locked down in cramped 2-man cells. Visitors are a rare privilege, limited to just 2 per year per inmate, as the prison is surrounded by the icy waters of White Lake, rendering escape futile. In 1517, Saint Cyril of Novozero founded a Russian Orthodox monastery on this island after witnessing what he described as a column of fire striking the land. Following the October Revolution in 1917, the monastery underwent a drastic transformation, becoming a prison to house enemies of the revolution. Through the 1930s and 1940s, it functioned as a penal colony for victims of Joseph Stalin's purges. After Stalin died in 1953, it was repurposed as a conventional prison for dangerous criminals unrelated to political offenses. In 1997, the facility was restructured to exclusively accommodate prisoners serving life sentences and those whose death sentences had been commuted to life following Russia's 1996 moratorium on capital punishment, informally referred to by inmates as Piatak. The prison currently houses approximately 193 inmates. Former head guard Vasily Smirnov succinctly described the prison's impenetrable defenses. If they dig, they hit water. If they attempt to swim, the guards will shoot them. Psychologist Svetlana Kiselyova reported that Petak Island has a devastating impact on inmates' mental resilience, stating that the prison breaks individuals, with the initial 9 months being an adaptation period, but extended stays of 3 or 4 years leading to personality deterioration, and 25 years causing extreme psychological damage. In an interview, an inmate detailed the severe conditions at Petak Island, describing it as the most brutal prison environment imaginable, lacking basic amenities like toilets and adequate washing facilities. He recounted spending every moment confined to a cell. He also revealed that upon his arrival, he had advised his wife to divorce him, and they had not met since then. He mentioned that his wife briefly shed tears during their last conversation. Vladimir, another inmate, expressed a similar sentiment, stating that he had accepted his cell as his home and resigned himself to the fact that it would eventually become